Hi, you're here with Dave Feldberg, Team Latitude 64, and I did it in the bag earlier this year, but throughout the year I want to keep updating you on my changes and go through the bag so you can get an idea of what I'm starting to throw as we come out with new discs and I test new plastic. So let's take a look at my bag today and see what we have. So, as many of you know, I have the signature dagger, and I'm still using that. When I did the video last time, they were just coming out. Now it's definitely my go-to putter, the stiff, hard zero dagger. This is the custom stamp one. This is the regular. You'll be able to find those in the States soon, and look for them. I am still holding on to my one judge. Here it is. Still holding on to it. It's my new Blackie, as you would say. It really holds a good line for me now. It's broken in. It took about 2 years. Great for outside the circle. Still sticking with it. A lot of the stuff that I've already shown you, I'll kind of go fast through. When I get to a new disc, I'll go into some detail. Still holding the two sinuses, medium and soft. Great choices. Now, moving along to mid-range, you know that I'm throwing the mace. But in addition to the mace is that I'm using the recycled mace now. I find this to hold a little better in the wind, and it's a much better disc for me. One thing I wanted to show many of you who are testing the mace is that, as you can see, I have 4 now instead of 5. But look at the side of them. I finally have gotten to the point where I can break one in. Now I have one that I can throw with hyzer. It'll flip to flat, turn over. I can make it go straight. I can throw sky air shots to the left to right. It's becoming a great disc for me. They just take a long time to break in. One thing about our zero hard plastic is it shows a lot of wear early, but it doesn't show in the flight. So you have to really break it in for a long time before it starts to turn over. Next in my bag, which has been pretty much my go-to for a long time, many of you know, is the XXX. Still love the XXX, still one of our best discs. Most reliable. Now that I've also broken one of these in, as you can see the notches, it's actually starting to flatten up for me, and I'm being able to use it for more than just hyzers. Now, let's see what we got. Ooh, here's a new release for you to see. This will be hitting the States soon. One of my new favorite discs, the Felon. It's made by DD. It is a disc that is made just between a Trident and a XXX. And you'll find that this is going to be very overstable at the end, but actually get a little glide for you. This is probably going to be a disc I use a lot at the World Championships this year. Now, let's see what else we have in here. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Let's see. Let's pick out some of the ones you know about and then talk about them. Finally, this Fury you saw that I added to my bag is becoming a great roller disc. It's breaking in. I'm able to control it. Before I was having to force it over and then flip it. Now I'm able to throw at many angles and get many different rollers. That Saint that you've seen since the first in the bag, it's still in the bag. If you can believe it, it still flies the exact same as it did last March when I did it in the bag. One of my favorite discs still using it. Last week at the Major Championship, I teed off with it at least 12 times. So great choice for a disc. Get yourself a Saint. If it flips for you a little bit, throw more hyzer on it. It's the kind of disc that flies better with hyzer than turned over right away. Now, one of the changes I made is that most of you saw me throwing the Opto Trident. I really enjoy the Trident, but the Opto Trident for me was a little overstable and didn't break in. I know that's a great thing, but for me, I need discs that flatten up. The Gold Line Trident, as you can see here, is a great disc for that. It flattens up just a little bit and still hyzers. I can control it, keep it in tight windows, and I definitely recommend you getting one of these. I didn't know it was such a great disc at first because I always threw see-through opto type discs. This is a great disc. It's breaking in, and as you can see, it wears a little better than the opto, and it gives me the opportunity to hit those shots. Now, what else do we have in here? Let's see. Ooh, here's some new additions to the bag. 2 new additions to the bag that I'm going to recommend you get. When I did the in the bag last year, I was throwing the flow. And for some reason, I got away from the flow. I don't know, it happens. Now, Devin Owens came out with his fresh disc golf disc, and he asked me to try one because he had a good run. And I tell you what, Sometimes this is the farthest flying disc in my bag, but it's definitely controllable. I can put a little anhyzer on it and it comes back. I can put a little hyzer on it, it goes flat. I could turn it way over and it holds anhyzer. I could throw big hyzers with it. One of the most useful discs in our line, and when you talk to Thomas Ekstrom, the maker of the disc, he'll tell you, if you're gonna have a big distance contest and the wind's right, you'll probably get the most distance out of the flow. Now, another addition to my bag, and you know if many of you have it and you've seen me use it, is the Saint Pro. The only change is that I'm starting to throw the Deco Die Saint Pro because it has a higher dome and it causes it to glide a little bit. Many of you are throwing Saint Pros out there because of my recommendation, and you're finding that they're either overstable or slightly understable depending on the plastic you choose. I think that if you're finding that they're slightly understable and they're too flat, go out and find yourself a Deco Die Domey one, and you'll find that it really still does the flight of the Saint Pro, but finishes strong to the left. Now, I haven't broke one in yet, so I'm curious to see. Next time we do it in the bag, I'll let you know what's happening. What else do we have in here? Whew, we got lots of discs, don't we? Well, let's go with what you know I have. You know that I still have the Havoc. I love the Havoc. It's still my roller disc. I haven't found anything to replace it, and I'm not looking for anything to replace it anytime soon. Goal Line Havoc, great roller, and since the last in the bag, since I told many people about it, a lot of people have switched to it, and I've heard a lot of good success. So if you haven't tried it yet, get your hands on one. Now, a couple of my other go-to discs that you're used to seeing in my bag as the King. Before I was using all these different white Kings and special Kings, what I've come to find is this standard VIP plastic King is the best King. I throw it with hyzer, it turns, it has a nice flight, and even when I let other players on our team throw it, they go, wow, that's a great King. And since the last in the bag, I've turned people like Eric McCabe on to trying the King, and it's his go-to driver. So I think you should try one today. Things change in plastic over years, and today the King is one of our trustier discs. I haven't given up on the White Giant. There it is. You know it's in my bag. You know I support this disc a lot. What I want to say about the White Giant is, though, that it is still very overstable, and now I use it for windy conditions. Anytime there's any headwind, or hey, there's OB on the right, and I can't risk any chance of going right, it's a re-tee, I'm gonna go with the White Giant still because I know it works, I've tested it, and I believe in it. So try one. Now, as many of you know, or you've heard, I throw the world. And when I say I throw the world, I throw the world. As you see, a crazy man like me is carrying 6 worlds, okay? Now the reason for that is, this is my go-to driver for any kind of distance shot, left to right, right to left, long roller, low skip shot, high over the top shot. It does not matter. This is my go-to distance disc. So what I've decided to do is treat it just like my Maces and have multiple variations from understable to overstable. Now they all start about the same, but as you can see on the edges, this one, it's starting to get broken in. You can see that rough edge. Same with this one. As you can see, the order is from very understable to very overstable. Now you say to yourself, well, is there a difference, Dave, in the worlds? Should I buy the VIP? Should I buy the tournament? Is color matter? A lot of people ask me these questions. And what I've come to find out is that when you look at the world, the only difference I can find between the worlds, besides the feel of the plastics, you know, blue has, you know, non-see-through, this white kind of you can see through it, as you could tell. But what I find is you need to take a look at the side profile. You see this world versus this world? It's a slight difference, and if you're looking at the camera right now, you can probably see it, okay? Also, look at this world and this world. You can really see the difference in these two. Now what the difference is that they're different plastics, and what happens is in the tournament plastic, it gets a little more domey, and these tend to glide longer but still finish at the end. These flatter ones that are coming in the tournament plastic, which is the see-through stuff, that tends to just hold. It doesn't have as long of a glide as the VIP, but it really, really, really gets me a consistent flight. I know that I said really 3 times because it really, really, really does work. I'm going to tell you this right now. A lot of players who don't believe in the world yet haven't tried it. Go out and watch some videos of me playing. Some of the best shots I've been throwing is with the worlds. And finally, many of you who watch at home come up to me and they say, well, Dave, I watched you're in the bag. It looks like you replaced everything quite well. Where's your destroyer? Where's your boss? Here it is right here. If you don't have a world and you're throwing Trilogy plastic, you're making a mistake. Finally, 2 more additions to my bag that I want to talk about. Dynamic Disc just released in the last 3-4 months, the Enforcer. The Enforcer is the guaranteed hyzer disc that we have. It is wonderful. It's a disc that is just like the Giant, kinda, but it doesn't go as far. I'm able to control it. I don't have to throw as far, and it's allowing me to throw in that 3 to 375 range under control. Where the Giant, when I really throw it with how I want, it starts to carry to 4, 4 1/4, 450 for me. And when I throw it lightly, it just goes to the left. And many of you have experienced that when you've tried it. Well, this disc, I can throw the same amount of power on as that Giant, but reduce my distance by maybe 25 to 50 feet. And as you know, it's more common to find a sharp hyzer hole in disc golf that ranges from 325 to 400 than it is from 400 to 500. So this type of disc is going to be very useful for you. We've needed it in our line for a while, and I'm glad Thomas finally put this out. The Enforcer is great. Finally, the newest addition to my bag, the Michelin. Here it is. Many of you are saying, what is that hexagon top? That looks strange. That looks like a kid's toy. Well, you know, at first glance, that's what you feel. But when you take a closer look at it, you understand that there's some science here. He's put a pattern on the top that is deflecting the air and trapping it over the disc, causing it to glide in different patterns. And this is a new style of disc. And I'm going to explain this to you. It's not very easy to understand. It's a type of disc that if you throw it with hyzer, it'll act like a Giant. But if you throw it turned over, it'll act like a king and finish like a Giant. So it's the first ever disc that we made that is high speed, understable, low speed, overstable. Now a good example of where I'm going to use this is for rollers. I can rip over on it and put it down on the ground, and it holds. And because it's such an overstable low-speed disc, it'll actually go to the left at the end of its roll instead of flipping to the right. That's something we've been missing in our line, and I've been looking forward to it, and it's great. Now we're on to our second run of the Michelins, and you're going to see that most of them are a little flatter. For some of you that were unsure that you thought it was too overstable for you, try the second run. It's going to be great. They have the hexagon stamp on them instead of the original Michelin. It's the little pattern you see here as a whole. And one thing that you have to remember when you try this is if you go out and you throw it with hyzer, of course it's going to be overstable and not carry. Like I said, it's a new style of disc. High speed, understable, low speed, overstable. So if you want to get a good flight out of it, turn it over, watch it glide across the sky, and when it runs out of speed, it'll hook up more than a Giant. Something to try. We're not sure where it's going yet in the technology, if we're going to put out more of them, but I can tell you right now, it's very intriguing, and for the recreational and fun player, you gotta have one. You gotta have one to show your friends. It's a great disc. Now, that seems like a lot less disc than I usually carry, and the truth is, I'm trying to cut back. The idea of carrying a lot of discs is tough because I have to make a lot of decisions. It's painful to carry, and my poor caddies at home, they got bad backs. So what I'm trying to do today is reduce the amount of discs I'm throwing. I mean, you're thinking to yourself, you're reducing the discs, Dave? Look how many are on the ground. Well, if you had knew me in the past, they'd be circled all the way around me as the past videos. So I'm reducing down what I throw, reducing the molds, and trying to figure out how to manipulate each mold better. Now, when you look at these, you think, how could I, Dave, carry all those discs or know all those angles? Well, you don't need 6 worlds. You need 2 or 3. You don't need 5 maces. You need 2 or 3. But I'm going to recommend right now that in each mold, you carry 2 to 3 discs and break them in. Our discs take a long time to break in. Slowly break one in, add a new one, and you'll be more successful having 3 Saint Pros than a brand new Saint and a brand new Saint Pro. I know that sounds strange to a lot of you, but you want to stop manipulating the molds and start having the disc be more consistent in your hand. And here's how I'm going to explain that to end this video for you. When you take a disc, it's called disc integrity. Disc integrity explains why a disc comes back. It's all about speed, and when you throw a disc, say this Saint, disc is designed to turn over at around 40 to 50 miles an hour, okay? And what happens is you throw it, it turns at 50 miles an hour, and it's designed to hold. But this Trident is not designed to turn over to about 60 to 70 miles an hour. So what happens is when I break this in and it gets all beat up around the outside and underside, it's going to start to turn over at 40 to 50 mile an hour like a Saint. But when it runs out of speed and there's no air rushing over it and pressuring it, it's going to act like a brand new disc, and it's going to finish back to the left, where this is going to keep holding. So what you want to do is get a disc that has great disc integrity. So even if it turns right out of your hand, it'll come back at the end. Hence, like the Michelin, we're trying to design a disc like the Michelin so you can do that out of the box. But you can still do that with our other discs. You just have to break them in. So don't necessarily try to buy one from every mold and say, oh, I have this one for turnovers, this one for hyzers, this one for straight shots. Say, no, I have 5 Saints. 1 hyzers, 1 turns, 1 rolls. That's what you're looking for if you want to play consistency. But it'll take a lot of practice to figure out which one fits your hand and which one you like. So go out to the local store today, try some of these discs, and I'll see you in a couple months to update my bag. I'm Dave Feldberg, Team Latitude 64. See you next time.